Right, Blues fans, Blue Beat Boys podcast here, on the back of a 1-0 defeat against Stoke City at the Bet365 Stadium. So no points collected after the international break, and pretty poor performance overall, as I think if anyone watching saw, and do feel sorry for the fans that have travelled up there today. No fluidity, didn't really look good in possession at all. Lots of wayward passes, and Stoke obviously set up and played very well, particularly in that first 20 minutes in the first half. Most of all, pressed us high up, 3-4 players on the edge of our 18, and we were just very predictable, and that's something that has to change going forward, because what is the stat in the last 4 games? 2 shots on target, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're really struggling to not just create anything, but get any shots on target also. It was poor, wasn't it, today, unfortunately?
Yeah, we just weren't at it at all today. And like you say, to be fair, Joe, credit where credit's due to Stoke. They executed a game plan and it worked. But we're literally seeing now a textbook within the league, physically speaking, as it were, rather than teams sort of studying us, as it were. And even that could be the case, is that you're finding how teams are now able to play against us, whereas we didn't see it as much last season because Steve lacked the quality in League One, whereas in the Championship they don't. You're going up another level. So essentially what you're seeing is teams are in our face and pressing us high early in the game, getting their goal, and then they can afford to sit back, because while we've got possession, it's a lot of side to side. It's not very forward in the way that we're bringing the ball forward, as it were. It's very passive. It's very slow. That's the thing, we're just slow. We're slow to second balls. We're slow to react. We're predictable, like you say. And as a result, we're not seeing any penetration. As you say, 2 shots on target in 4 games, including Cup.
Dad, did you expect that perhaps today, with the changes that we made, obviously Robert started from the off, had an okay game, tried to create things at times, but again, nobody really stood out, as we just talked about before we come out here?
No, I thought the front 4 was good when I saw it. Roberts in there, Tommy Doyle playing in the 10, Dimmy, and obviously a bit of a surprise to see Stano there. CD playing it down as he expertly does, as far as injuries are concerned. And I was looking forward to it. I thought, that looks good. Looks as though that could make a difference. Some slick passing and moving and that kind of thing. So I was looking forward to that. But as Dan's just said, there's a bit of a playbook developing, I think, anyway, about how to kind of approach games against us.
Yeah, there is.
I think people not only close us down and we're a bit passive, I think they're very aggressive, and they're thinking, okay, so if we can get at them, it disturbs their rhythm so that they can't get on their game. But also they press to score like we do, right? And their view is, if we can get in front from one of those pressing actions, then we can afford to pull back a bit then. We can just sit back, wait for them to try and break us down, which we haven't been particularly good at doing in the last couple of games, and then hit them on the break. And obviously Stoke have got 2 very fast wingers. Manhoff in the first half an hour today, made Alex Cochrane look like a fucking schoolboy.
Easily his worst game since he's been at the club.
He was
since
incredibly
last
poor
season.
today.
And it wasn't just a fact of because you have to give fair game sometimes when players beat full-backs and they don't look like they're jumping in, but he did that every single time today. And they just think, right, just keep pinging it on the right-hand side, go down their left-hand side, we'll beat them every time, and they did. And really, on another day, they might have been 3-0 up inside the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, if I'm a little bit ungenerous towards Blues about it, I think we were lucky to only be 1-0 down at one point, really.
Were,
definitely given the first 20 minutes, half an hour, but then we came back into a little bit. But Stoke were dropping off because they've done their job, they've scored their goal. Like Dad said, with the playbook developing now, you get an early goal against us because you pressed us high and you've done what you needed to do. You don't really need to do much else beyond that, but it's concerning because we don't seem to have a counter to it.
The thing is there were opportunities there, particularly because after the first half, and the first 20 minutes of the second half, we started to have a little bit more of a rally, didn't we? We looked like we were coming forward with the ball.
We
more,
did for a bit. Space
started opening up. And what happened is when we did get into the right areas, we failed to make the final pass good, or there was a few times when Kumas came on where he did the hard part and cut inside and made the space open up on the pitch, but then his pass was poor. And it's just those little moments and details when we do have opportunities to get forward that we're not very good at, and that has to change going forward.
Yeah, it does, because you've got to make the most of what you've got. You're not going to get as many opportunities at a higher level. That's not really rocket science to say that, is it? Some things that have been wrong for probably the whole season, one in particular, which I think is probably on most people's minds, is set pieces. Now, the set pieces defensively today, you started to worry about it. I think Noel Blake was doing the co-commentary that I heard. and he was talking about how we just didn't seem to kind of have a grip on it.
No.
And the central defenders didn't seem to be talking to each other. That communication wasn't there. And that's a bit concerning, that if you've got that already, and okay, there's still time for it to be sorted out, but nonetheless, it's concerning. But probably worse than that is attacking set pieces. I have no confidence at all with an attacking free kick or a corner or even a long throw that we're going to do anything. Where's that coming from?
I think it's the centre halves that supposedly you think with some height and some power in there that they're going to be good at the attacking side of the corners and the set pieces.
They're just not there.
But they're just, like you say, they just don't have that. And even late on today, obviously it does get a bit desperate. There's still only one goal in it, so it can happen. But even in the wide areas, we're crossing it into the box, but you got fucking 5'0" Kyogo in there.
Yeah.
And you've got whoever was in the 10. It was Marvin Dux, but he should be in there at that point. But at that point, it didn't really matter. We weren't going to find a way back into the game. We had no shots on target. We didn't look like we were going to score, and we didn't. And like I say, I think going forward, obviously the next game we play will be against Swansea a week today at home. So it's good to be back at home. And I think there's no question about it that I think we can all agree that we don't have to have a meltdown about things just yet. If another 5 games goes on and we only get 3 points, then that's concerning. But there's not a meltdown button yet because we haven't actually had a bad start. And I think I just want to say that, and I think the other fans would agree with us, that there's been this little cloud hanging over us, probably by our owners and maybe just us in general, where our expectations were up there, and all of a sudden, because we've lost 2 on the bounce and we haven't got a shot on target barely, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's going on? We should be in the top 6 already. But this league is tough.
It is.
This league is difficult, and there's some great teams in there, and they'll just know how to play against you, and they'll be better than you at it. Now this is a new team that has got to gel together yet. Obviously today's poor, and something has to be done to rectify that, and that's something that has to be looked at. But it's not panic stations just yet. We've had a decent start. We're mid-table. Albion today, they've had a fantastic start, but they had a poor result and lost against Derby. It's going to happen. And, we might return at home on Saturday next week and we might win 2-3-0. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, fucking hell, it's back on. People just need to relax a bit. It's not great right now, but you got to stick with them and just try and see if we can fix the problems.
Nobody's going to, well, I'm certainly not going to get into the kind of, Chris Davis, he's not up to it kind of thing, he needs to be sacked. That's a load of bollocks. The bottom line is that he's learning as he goes along as well. It's okay to question stuff. It's okay for us to say, is it right, for example, in the centre of defence, we've got pace with Neumann, we've got leadership with Clara, but together, are they a viable unit? That's one question I would be asking, for example, And it sounds a bit, kind of heretical to suggest that you would take Clara out of the team and put Jack Robinson in there because he's got experience of being promoted from the Championship alongside a guy with pace who hasn't got a lot of experience in the Championship in Neumann, and see if that works. Nobody is guaranteed their place there.
No.
And nor should they be. And that's the mark of a kind of a ruthless but successful manager. You're doing things like that you don't keep rolling favourites into the team simply because you get on with them. Let's see what the guy's made of. I've got confidence that he's got what it takes. So let's not get onto that train. I'm positive about that part of it. But we do need to start turning things around as far as creativity is and shots on goal as soon as possible.
I think that's probably ahead of anything that's going on at the back, I would say at this point, just by the fact that we've had 2 shots on target in 4 games.
Agreed.
One of them against, a League One side. So we've got to do better there. And that being one of our problems, definitely that being the main problem. One thing I did notice today is obviously Leonard did come on, but it was obvious to me that the cover in that pivot role for the 2 in there in the 6, we've only got 1 player in there. Obviously that had to be addressed in the transfer window, which is now gone. Just got to hope one of them doesn't pick up a knock. It did look like Stano had a knock, didn't it, at one point today, but he seemed to carry on. And hopefully that's not anything major.
And just linking into what you were saying, Dad, there, really the mark of a ruthless manager, particularly at this level, is not to be afraid to change personnel, and nor should anybody be guaranteed their spot in the team. I think, though, and I don't know what the Blues fans think, but I think we've missed a trick in the transfer window because we needed somebody who was a quick, powerful forward who will get at opposition players, and we missed the opportunity in Kone because QPR paid £3 million for him, and the bloke has scored 3 fucking goals in 3 games.
And I mean, okay, the season's a long one, and he might be one of these players who kind of blows hot early part of the season and then cold in the latter part because for whatever reason he just runs out of energy or whatever. but he's an option, isn't he? Yeah,
He is, that's the point.
The ball in the air when we're getting forward, I don't feel any confidence that we're going to get anything out of it.
You don't have that moment where you freeze your breath and you're like, oh, something going to... I don't do that at all.
You just kind of automatically assume it's going to come back out from the opposition defence.
Yeah.
And I take your point there, in as much as he could have had a positive start to the season, Kone, and could have fizzled out later in the season, he could come out of form or whatever have you. But the point is, he's making it happen now when our strikers are not.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
Goals win you games, and we're not scoring goals. We're not even at the point where we're even creating them. So it's almost not having the worth conversation, saying we should be scoring goals. We're not even creating them at this point.
If we come away today saying that the Stoke keeper had made 5 brilliant saves, you'd be thinking, at least we'll be creating them. At least we were having decent goals on goal, and on another day that could have been an easy win for us. You can't even say that.
No, you can't.
And that's more worrying than missing chances or having keepers making worldies.
I would like to think that that's something that Chris Davis is going to... By the time you guys watch this, Chris Davis' interview might already be out, so we haven't seen it yet. But I like to think that's going to be something he's going to mention. I'll be kind of pissed off if he comes out and says that we dominated the game. Not just possession, we dominated the game and we thought we played well. He's totally wrong if he thinks that, because I don't know which game he's watching if he says that. I'm hoping he's going to say we weren't great, we didn't create enough, and we didn't look like we were up for the fight, because we didn't second balls, didn't win those today either. We didn't really challenge in areas where we should have been, and that's something that has to change. And I think just by natural that we're going to be back at home a week today, that's already an advantage to us. It's one of the toughest places to go in the league, but that will obviously play into our favour. And can you expect points there? Not only expect, but I think we need to get something back at home.
It will be difficult though. Swansea are very good at keeping the ball out of the net. We're not very good at putting it in the net. It doesn't bode well, does it?
It doesn't.
We're going to have to be on top of our defensive game, which we can. We can do that, especially with Boz. If Boz comes back into the team, which I would like to see. It's going to be difficult. We've been a bit unfortunate in a way in that we've come across some teams who've either been relegated from the Premier League or have started very well. We have had a bit. I mean, I've seen fucking Blackburn won away today. They're a point behind us now, having won up there. So, apart from Oxford, we haven't played anybody really in the bottom third of the table.
No.
So it's a long way to go yet. And let's not get mega negative about it, but let's be realistic about the challenges we're facing at the moment.
No, and I think sort of putting it on a positive spin, I suppose, if there is any from this game, really, not so much collectively as a team, but I felt even Laird had a decent performance throughout the game today. I thought he was good. Got us out of trouble a lot of times in the first half when really, to be honest, the rest of it, particularly Cochrane, weren't doing it at all. A couple of good blocks in the first half, a couple of good interceptions. Felt Boz, when he came on around the hour mark, was good as well.
Good again,
I thought Roberts helped bring the ball forward in a positive way. But obviously it would be good to see more of him, but we've got to bear in mind it's his first game, isn't it?
There was a nice reverse ball, wasn't there, in the first half?
There was, yeah, it was really nice. But I think in changing to personnel, and I was talking to you about before we recorded this post-match reaction, didn't I, Dad? Saying how if it was me personally, and this is just my view based on what we've seen today, and then in the last few games, I'd take Neumann out and I'd bring Robinson in. I'd take Cochrane out and put Ethan Laird in his place, just because I think defensively Ethan Laird is a better player, and I think going forward he offers more as well. And I think Robinson, while he hasn't got the pace that Newman's got, he's got the experience and the intelligence at this level. That's what you're bringing the man in for, so we should use him. And to be honest, I know people say, okay, well, we haven't got covered in the centre at pace then. When does that really happen to us though? Really? A lot of teams come from wide in this division.
Depends who you're playing, doesn't it?
It does,
These
things
are about horses.
I just think it's worth the change now.
Yeah, I mean, I take your point. I think, I don't like the kind of the two right footers thing. I think it affects Clara to the point where I think he made a poor pass at the very start of the game, and I just thought his orientation is off. That's kind
that can happen.
That's quite a subtle kind of thing to say, really. What is orientation? But it's like finding your bearings. Kind of automatically thinking as a left footer versus a right footer about putting the ball down the line for somebody making a run on the left wing. Just stuff like that. It takes longer to do, and it's slightly more complicated if you're using your right foot.
When teams are pressing you as well, and they had numbers in our half when we had the ball at the back line, that all put pressure on us anyway. So if you're on the wrong side and your orientation, as you say, that is off, you've got to move the ball quickly, and put on top of that we were predictable in those areas today when we can't be like that. We got to move it quicker, 1-2 touch. that makes it more difficult for us. So
Yeah.
It does. And I think really there's no shying away from it today, and I don't think fellow Blues fans should either. But of course, let us know in the comment section what you think. But I think it's been disappointing today, hasn't it? But
yeah,
we roll onwards to the next one, don't we? A week today on Saturday, the 20th of September, home back at St Andrews at United Park against Swansea City. That will present its own set of challenges, as we've discussed. But take what positives we can, what little positives we've already discussed from today. But the same problem is still present, isn't it? We're just not creating enough and getting shots on goal, and it absolutely has to change.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. No, let's say next week pans out. They've got a full week on the training pitch, no interruptions for cup games or international breaks. Now they've got time to work on it. So let's see how the coaching staff earn their corn now.
Yeah. So as Dan says, guys, let us know what you think in the comments. And we'll catch you guys. I think we record on Monday. So we'll likely do a pre-match, a little bit of post-match on this game, but not too much because we've talked 15 minutes here. But we'll do a bit of a pre-match for the Swansea game and touch on some other things. So let us know what you guys think, and we will see you in the next one. Stay true to the Royal Blue and keep right on.
Keep right on.